Hello, everyone. You're very welcome to this University of Galway webinar relating to the LLM in international migration and refugee law and policy. My name is Nigel Moore, and I'm part of the Global Galway team. Before I pass you over to my colleagues in the School of Law, just one or two things of note. So this webinar will be recorded, so if there's anything you missed or like to look back on at a later date, you can do so on the Ambassador platform. We do hope that this is an interactive session, so if you do have any questions, please post them to the bottom right of your screen, and we'll do our best to answer them during this webinar. First off, I'd like to pass you to my colleague, Maria Ryan, who'll take you through the introduction of the webinar. Thank you, Maria.
Hi all, and thank you so much for joining our webinar today. I'm Maria. I am the Marketing and Student Recruitment Officer at the School of Law. We will be taking you through one of our LLM programs today, the LLM in International Migration and Refugee Law and Policy. You're also joined on the call today by the Program Director, Siobhán Mullally, who is also the Director of the Irish Centre for Human Rights, who I will briefly pass you over to for an introduction.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning everyone, or good evening. Good to have you joining us online. As Maria said, I'm Siobhán Mullally. I'm the Programme Director of the LLM Migration, Refugee Law and Policy. I'm also Director of the Irish Centre for Human Rights, and alongside that I hold a role with the United Nations as Special Rapporteur on Human Trafficking. That is particularly relevant to my teaching and research in this field as well, because we look at international migration developments, we look at how the UN responds, new developments in law and policy with regard to refugee rights. And I also chair a United Nations platform of independent experts on refugee rights, which brings together African, Inter-American, Asia-Pacific and United Nations human rights mechanisms to promote the rights of refugees. And we engage with UN High Commissioner for Refugees and with regional offices to look at current challenges on immigration and refugee policy issues. Migration and refugee law and policy are one of the global challenges and one of the most pressing issues for international law today. So we're really pleased to have this specialised master's programme, which is unique in Ireland and one of very few in Europe and very few worldwide. Thank you. Next slide. So I can tell you a little bit about the Irish Centre for Human Rights. We are located at the entrance to the main campus in the beautiful campus of the University of Galway. We're located in a historic building at the entrance. It's a dedicated human rights centre, world-renowned centre that was inaugurated in 2000. So we've marked 25 years of postgraduate teaching. The university itself is established since 1845, so part of the National University of Ireland, one of the oldest universities in Ireland. The Irish Centre for Human Rights is ranked #1 in Ireland for human rights education. We place great emphasis on engagement with law, policy and practice. Our staff are leading experts in their field and have close links with government, with practitioners, with NGOs and civil society and with UN agencies. And we teach very much from an interdisciplinary perspective, so looking at the wide range of issues relevant to migration and refugee law rights. Next slide. So just to give you a brief snapshot of the programme, students take 2 core modules. One is that I teach is Contemporary Issues in International Migration Law and Policy. That's taught in the first semester. And the second semester, you have a core module in International Refugee Law, which is taught by my colleague, Professor Keir Smith. In Contemporary Issues in International Migration Law, we look at new issues such as climate migration, statelessness, human trafficking, citizenship and nationality, as well as looking at issues around criminal law responses in the new area of crimmigration, looking at deportations, forced removals, arbitrary arrest and detention, as well as broad areas relating to migration and work and the rights of migrant workers, and looking at how states respond to the movement of people across borders. International refugee law looks at the right to seek and enjoy asylum, the development of international refugee law, as well as current pressing issues in relation to threats to refugee protection, family reunification, resettlement, as well as temporary migration and temporary protection status. In addition to these two core modules, students have the possibility then to combine the study of international migration, refugee law and policy with a range of elective modules for the additional 40 credits. So the two core modules are 20 credits, and then students can build their own 40 credits. So you have options, for example, such as Common European Asylum System, which gives you a core introduction into one of the most evolved areas of regional asylum law and policy. We have modules on European human rights law, and then we have more international modules such as climate justice, gender and human rights, business and human rights, or international humanitarian law, international criminal law, peace operations, if you want to look more at humanitarian settings and conflict settings. International child rights is another option that we offer, as well as international environmental law. So students can build around the particular areas that they may wish to combine with the study of migration and refugee law and policy. All of our programs and master's modules are taught with a view to policy and practice. So we look at issues as they arise in terms of current pressing developments and new policy debates, both at global level, at UN level, and at regional level within the African region, the Americas, Asia Pacific, and Europe. In addition to the taught courses, students take and deliver a specialized dissertation over the summer period. So this is independent research supervised by one of the faculty from the Irish Centre for Human Rights. You choose your own topic, so you can decide to go into quite a bit more depth in a pressing issue relating to migration and refugee law and policy. So that's really important in terms of building your research skills and providing you with a platform to move on to the next stage of your career. Throughout the year, we also provide training on specialized research skills, legal writing skills, academic integrity, to ensure the highest standards of research and to build your skills to engage in lawyering, in research and public policy beyond the program. Next slide. So just to highlight a few key features of the program, I would highlight that we have a visiting speaker seminar series. We really focus on the policy and practice and skills development of our students. Our modules are taught by leading experts. All of us have worked outside of the university and continue to work closely in policy environments and humanitarian settings in post-conflict development. So we bring all of that experience into our classroom and also link our students with current developments and broad international networks in the field. Next slide. So just to give you a sense, I've already mentioned the range of modules. We have the core modules and then a wide range of specialized modules. And this is something that is quite unique about the program because we are one of the world's leading academic human rights centers. We have experts across a range of subject areas working on diverse areas of migration and refugee protection. So to give you an example, this evening we have an event with the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the human right to a clean, healthy and sustainable environment. One of the issues of interest for our students and for the Special Rapporteur's work is the issue of climate migration and climate refugees. So that is a very unique option for students to participate in an expert seminar. We've just concluded a 2-hour guest seminar and masterclass with a leading public health scholar from the US who was looking at issues around gender, human rights, and also migration advocacy in the US in the context of current developments in immigration and refugee law in the US. So those are examples of what is always a very busy time at the Irish Centre for Human Rights. Next slide. Again, I would just highlight some of the key unique features. We have guest speakers, an ongoing lunchtime seminar series where we really try to bring our students into contact with practitioners. We hold an annual conference jointly with the Immigration, Asylum and Citizenship Bar Association. We've also linked there with the EU Asylum Bar Association to look at current developments each year around the broad area of immigration, asylum and citizenship. And we bring a range of practitioners and speakers, and students participate fully in that annual conference. Students have the possibility also to participate in a field trip to The Hague to visit international courts and tribunals that may be of interest. For example, the International Criminal Court has long had a focus on crimes against migrants. And that is something that we discuss in class. And then there's the opportunity to actually be there in person and observe the working of the institutions. Some of our students have also visited the United Nations in Geneva, observed the dialogues at the Human Rights Council, and worked with special procedures and engaged with UN treaty bodies. So all of these are possibilities for our students. Because I work closely with the United Nations as a special rapporteur in human trafficking, I bring my work into the classroom and introduce ongoing webinars, seminars, roundtables that students can participate in within the UN system. So that again is quite a unique feature. Thank you. Next slide. Over to you. Thanks, Maria.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Siobhán, for providing that insight into the course and what students can expect. If you do have any particular questions relating to modules or anything specific, you can add them into the chat feature on the platform, and we will answer those shortly during the questions and answers session. But looking at admissions and entry requirements, Niall will pop into the chat area all of the relevant links to the entry requirements and the admissions applications. And if, again, you do have anything that's outside of these queries, you can email lawpostgrad@universityofgalway.ie and I will happily answer any specific queries that you do have. It's also important to note, as an international student, if you are looking at relocating for your LLM program, that you do consider the destination of the university city. And we are quite lucky that Galway is a friendly and charming city, and it was ranked first in Europe for student friendliness in 2024. And as you can see, it is a very beautiful place. It is positioned on the edge of the Atlantic, in the middle of the Wild Atlantic Way, and we are so close to a lot of Ireland's popular landmarks, which a lot of our international students do aim to see during their term breaks or at the weekend. Galway is also a very culturally rich city. There are always a lot of arts, film festivals, food festivals, and we are in a really unique positioning within Ireland. Looking at the campus in proximity to Galway city centre, we really are based in the heart of the city. As you can see, we are approximately a 10-minute walk from the city centre, which a lot of our international students really find helpful, that it's such a walkable campus that is so close to the city centre. So you really are immersed in the city, and it's very easy for international students to get around. Looking at our current student body, we have over 27 nationalities in our current student body, which are from different European and non-EU countries, which really does make for a diverse and inclusive learning environment. And then looking at some of the postgraduate taught awards. So with the non-EU and non-EA students, there is a Government of Ireland International Education Scholarship. And this has over 60 places awarded across all Irish higher education institutions each year, and the closing date for this is March 2026, which is why we do reiterate that if you are considering one of our LLM programs or you're interested in it, that you do apply and submit your application as soon as possible to be considered for some of these postgraduate taught awards. There is also one up to 50% off tuition fee scholarship for one student across the School of Law, and there is more information on our website under the scholarships segment of our website. And speaking of our website, we have recently updated all of our course pages. So if you are interested at looking more specifically into some of the unique modules or getting an idea of the faculty on each of the programs, I highly advise you visit our new website and you will get a more in-depth view of the different courses and what it's like to be a student at University of Galway. And again, that is the email address if you do want to contact us with any specific queries. And with that, I will open the floor to any questions that you may have. We would be happy to answer them. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Maria. I might just come in there just until we wait for people to possibly answer. I really appreciated that. Siobhán is quite interesting, and it's good to see some of our students that were involved internationally being involved in that. Can I just ask, because we get a lot of questions about job possibilities and future careers. I know you touched on this. Is there anyone in particular who's gone on to do anything interesting that has taken the course that you can think of?
Yes, absolutely. Our graduates have gone on to a range of different areas, including, for example, working at the United Nations in Geneva with permanent missions as human rights officers, focusing on migration and humanitarian issues. We also have graduates working with UN agencies in conflict situations, post-conflict situations where you have internally displaced persons and high numbers of refugees. We've graduates who are in leadership roles now with the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, for example, in Iraq and elsewhere in the world. Graduates have also worked and are working with governments, for example, in migration and refugee ministries, in ministries of justice and interior. We also have graduates working, of course, with civil society and international non-governmental organizations, as well as graduates working in legal practice, specializing in immigration and asylum law. So the profiles really vary, but as I said, this is migration and refugee law and policy is one of the most kind of pressing and important areas of international law today. Migration is considered a global challenge. So there are really important opportunities to inform public policy, law reform, to be part of human rights advocacy and legal practice across a whole range of areas, whether it's to do with migration and work, business-related migration, citizenship and nationality, or it's to do with the more humanitarian refugee rights, rights of migrants and their families, human trafficking, statelessness. So really across a very broad range of areas. And increasingly, we are seeing that international aid organizations and international development agencies want to have people who are familiar with and know the current debates around migration and refugee rights.
Sounds fantastic. And Maria, I might just ask you, I know you mentioned that that students come from a range of countries. Because we obviously will have people from all over the world applying. Can you think of the countries that they actually come from and come and study in Galway?
Yeah, it's actually a whole host of countries. So we get students from the EU and then non-EU countries. I know even on this program in particular, we have one student from Ecuador. So it's really varied and it really does make for a diverse and inclusive student experience. I think as well, probably Siobhán, you will agree, it's great with the human rights LLM programs to have that diverse opinion from different cultures and different perspectives. It really does add to the student experience.
That's fantastic.
Yes, yeah, the classrooms are very diverse with students from all over the world, and with a range of different experiences. Some coming directly from undergraduate, others coming with significant professional experience or working with public policy or in international aid and humanitarian settings, but now wanting to specialize as this area has really developed in recent years. So we've had students who had previously taken master's programs in peace operations or human rights, who now really see the need to develop a specialism in migration and refugee law. And it's really something that's developed rapidly over the last 10 years. And ours is one of the only master's programs, one of very few globally, the only one in Ireland, and one of only 2 or 3, I think, across the UK or Ireland. So, and the rest of Europe. So we're very lucky to be able to offer this specialized master's program.
Thank you. Thank you very much to both of you. I don't believe we have any further questions, so I'll pass back to Maria just for some closing comments.
Yep, that's great. Well, if you do have anything specifically that you do want to query with either the School of Law or with Siobhán as the Programme Director, please feel free to reach out to lawpostgrad@universityofgalway.ie if there is anything. And I would just like to thank you all for your time today. We hope to see applications come through. And if there are any questions, as I said, we'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Okay, take care, everyone, and we hope to see you in Galway in September. Bye for now.